These difficult times of lockdown have, of course, created absolute havoc with so many organisations. And about this time of year, it normally would be my great pleasure to welcome into the studio members of the Seahaven Players to talk about their forthcoming summer production. But at the moment, of course, they're unable to meet and rehearse or even come into the studio. We're all on lockdown. Anyway, on two separate phone lines from different parts of the area, I have Tony Garwood. Great to have you with us, Tony.
Hello.
And also Judith Foote. Hi, Judith.
Hi.
Oh, hi, Judith. Okay. Great to have you both with us. Now, just very briefly tell us what it is that you're going to be doing very shortly, because you can't meet at the moment to rehearse and produce your summer production. So you had to put that on hold. So, Tony, if I can turn to you first, tell us how you're overcoming the problems of lockdown and social distancing whilst keeping things moving.
Once we went into lockdown, we set up a WhatsApp group so that people could stay in contact with everybody, and that's really very popular. There's a lot of interaction and banter and exchanging of silly jokes and silly pictures between that, but we felt that there was a need for us to do something creative as well. Hence we've moved on to the idea of producing a play which is entirely audible. In order to do this, we are using telephone conferencing. So we all phone into a telephone number, then we got the scripts in front of us and we can do the acting like that. I have to say, the first time we did it, we all seemed to be all talking all over each other, but fortunately Judith as director has got us all in order now and it's working much better.
Brilliant. Well, this is ingenious, I have to say. Good on you all for deciding that you're not going to let COVID-19 stop the show altogether. Comes back to that old say, the show must go on, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
So Judith, you're directing this next production, aren't you?
I am, yes.
Tell us what the production is.
It's called Fly Me. I originally wrote it, written and performed in 2014 in Peacehaven, and it's a comedy about a group of holidaymakers who fly off with Fly Me, the package holiday operator, to Torremolinos in Spain and have all sorts of adventures.
Right. Now, I was delighted to be in the audience when you performed that as a group a few years back now, and a very great, very funny show it was. But of course, doing it, rehearsing it live together and rehearsing by telecontact, having to record it for people to see, or rather I should say hear on the internet, two different things. So presumably when you originally wrote Fly Me, obviously it was for a visual stage production. Have you had to change the script in any way to allow for the fact that it be performed on stage?
Yes, I've had to do a lot of actually, but it's actually been a pleasure because it's like a trip down memory lane for me. I've got so many memories of the actual production itself and the cast that were in it. It was quite, in a way, a pleasurable thing to adapt the script for radio. I've had to include a narrator because obviously, as you say, a lot of it was visual, and that needs to go over to the listeners. So the narrator is the describing force behind it and set the scene for each scene.
Right. And so was it a big challenge then to revisualize it in your own mind, to get the words down right? I mean, was it very hard, or was it slightly easier than you expected? And what was the biggest problem?
There weren't really any problems. Obviously, when I write a script, it's conversation. I'm not used to descriptive writing. So for me, that was probably more of a challenge because I had to put some description into the script, which originally wasn't there. And it's not something I do very often. It was something I had to work at. But it was also fun to do. And I think it's given a side to the script because we've now got a narrator who controls the action as we go through the story.
Right. This is great fun. So you're directing it, Judith, and Tony, what part do you play in this?
Well, I play someone called Charles Nicholas. He is one of the holidaymakers. I don't want to give anything more away than that. But what I'm also doing is once we've got the recording, then I'm going to edit the recording, put in some sound effect, and also get it ready to be displayed on YouTube, because obviously there isn't an internet equivalent of the radio really that we have access to, but we can put it on YouTube with various visual photos of places in Spain to accompany the action, so that people get a YouTube experience from it. But of course, it will stand on its own just as an audio if anyone wanted to listen to it just as audio.
Right. So when do you plan to launch it online for people to have a look at?
Well, I'm very nervous about this, but it's the 31st of May that is our target day to get it online. So let's hope I actually manage to get there.
Yeah, it's quite a challenge you set yourselves. It's always difficult when you just think totally out of the norm, isn't it? But tell us who else you've got in there, Judith. Are they mainly being played by a lot of the original cast of this, or you've got some new members? Or tell us some of the actors.
Well, we've only actually got 5 original actors still in the cast who were in Fly Me. So for those people, they're obviously familiar with the script, and 2 of them are actually playing the same roles that they played back in 2014. But for everyone else, it's brand new. They're feeling their way into their characters. There aren't really any leading characters, but Mandy Fairhall is the chair of Seahaven Players, and she is playing Rosie, and she played that part in 2014. Nigel and Lynn Eniver also are in it again, playing the same parts. Tony has changed his part. He was Simon in the original, but he is playing Charles, as she said. And my husband, actually, who isn't in Seahaven Players as a member, but he has stepped in to fill one of the roles, and he is playing Simon, which was Tony's part. We've also got Matt and Ian, who are playing the 2 male stewards, and we've got Becca, who's playing one of the stewardesses. And we've got about 18 people involved in this production. I mean, I could go on and on.
Sounds like an awful lot of fun. Well, we're looking forward to that. Tony, how often are the rehearsals taking place? As you say, they're all done by people in their own homes via teleconference link. And how far down the road are you, and how often do you rehearse at the moment?
Just like for a normal show, we're rehearsing each Tuesday and Thursday. We started off by having a read-through on the telephone conference. Then we got people to do their auditions by recording their audition and sending them in to the casting group. And now we're meeting, as I say, every Tuesday and Thursday. Won't take us as long to get it ready because, A, we don't need to learn the lines. We've got the lines in front of us. There are no dance steps to master, which was always a challenge, certainly for me. So every Tuesday and Thursday.
Great. Yeah, of course, I hadn't thought about that. You don't have to learn your lines, do you? Because it's like a radio play. Oh, that must make life a little bit easier. But that sounds great. And Judith, I understand that in addition to doing this to keep the group actively involved with each other whilst obeying the government's lockdown regulations, and you're also doing it for a very serious fundraising event, aren't you? Yes,
we'd like to raise some funds for the NHS if we can. So we're asking anyone who enjoys listening or watching it on YouTube if they're happy to make a contribution to the NHS.
That's really good, and I'm sure a lot of people will appreciate that and be happy to take part of that, because of course they won't be buying tickets as they normally would, so the money they could have spent on a ticket to come along, they can donate to the NHS for a very good cause instead.
Yes,
exactly.
Yes, and we've set up a giving page which you can find linked from our website and our social media. It's www.justgiving.com/fundraising/Matt-Schumann. So it's probably better to see it written down.
Lovely. Well, we'll put that on our local What's On guide for people to pick the link up on and go through to that as well. Judith, tell us very quickly what it's meant to the organisation from your perspective, being in lockdown for COVID-19. I'm sure you'll be speaking for many other organisations and voluntary groups around the country. I mean, what has it meant, really?
Well, I think it's hard for everybody, isn't it? Because we're all either working or we're doing our houses up, maybe cleaning the house, but we're not doing anything that's fun, and we're not seeing our families and friends, and that's really hard. But doing something like this, the project that we're doing with Fly Me, just gives us another dimension to our lives at this moment in time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very important point you make there, because it's very difficult when we're all so restricted and can't do a lot of the things that are part of our normal routine. As we've heard a lot on the news, it's very important to remember to try and play as well as work, isn't it, at the current time, and keep the balance. Well, it's been delightful to have you both on the show virtually. The first time we've ever done that. Hopefully by the time you come round to doing the Christmas one, we'll all be back in the studio together again. But in the meantime, we wish you every success with this interesting and unusual project. I'm sure many people will be following it with a lot of interest because it's so out of the ordinary. And full marks to you all for being so creative. Whose idea was was it, Tony?
It was mine.
Right, well done.
But Judith had to do all the work because she had to alter her play so we could actually do it.
Yes.
It was a fantastic idea to come up with, and I've had great fun doing it, and as has everybody who's been involved in it so far. So thank you, Tony, for coming up with the idea.
I bet. It sounds like it's a real example of thinking outside the box, isn't it? So well done to you. Anyway, I do hope you're going to come back and keep us up to date with what happens. And obviously, once you've got a bit closer to getting the finished production, we'll be letting everybody on Seahaven FM reminding them how they can hear it and donate to the NHS for the pleasure of hearing it. And hopefully we'll have at least some of it on the radio. We've still got to sort that out. But so it's a case of watch both the Peacehaven Players website and the Seahaven FM website for more information, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much, Mark.
Yes, thank you, Mark.
My pleasure. We'll both stay safe, both of you, and we look forward to talking to you again, whether it be remotely or in happier times when we're all back in the studio sitting around the desk. But in the meantime, thanks very much for taking the time to tell us about this idea, and we wish you every success with it. We look forward to hearing the play.